And now you're gonna believe us, and now you're gonna believe us, and now you're gonna believe us. We're gonna win the league. No, but for real, we are gonna win the league. Not to get ahead of ourselves, but we did look very, very good this week against Minnesota. In terms of statistics, I think it was by far our most dominant performance. We can get into that in just a little bit. But I just want to run through Minnesota's kind of background here because, yes, they may have not won a game yet this year. I'd like to remind you, we're only 3 games in. But last year, they finished 4th in the Western Conference and actually made it to the Western Conference Finals, eventually losing to Seattle, who's, again, a very good team and a perennial powerhouse. But they've made the playoffs the last 2 years. They're not a bad side, right? They've got some talent, and they're always around in the sniff for the playoffs. So this is a quality win. So let's get into the actual match facts here. Again, I love XG, so we're going to look at that first. We had 1.5 expected goals, basically, to run through it again, based on the chances that we created during the match. We could be expected on average to score 1.85. We only ended up scoring the 1, which, not great. It's below average in terms of the chances we created, but hey, sometimes you only need 1 goal to win, and that's exactly what happened. We also kept Minnesota to under 1 goal XG, which means that we did a good enough job defending that the average team wouldn't end up finishing on us and getting a goal. So well-deserved clean sheet for us this week, I think. They only had 2 shots on target, so we did a really good job of limiting their opportunities to, basically just the bare minimum. If you look at our possession as well, I think this is actually our best possession week. In general, we had 61% possession, and we actually had 100 more completed passes than they had throughout the entire match, right? So we ended up with 446 completed passes. They only had 346, so did a really, really good job of keeping the ball. What I will say about that, though, is we did have a tendency to slowly move the ball out of the back in opportunities that we should have been swinging the ball to get Minnesota out of position. I was actually tweeting about it while watching the match. But what happens when you build out of the back is you need to keep the other team moving from side to side, because when you do that, you don't give them an opportunity to sit back, get organized, and get their gaps taken care of. When you're moving ball from side to side, you're forcing all 11 of those players to try and move in tandem at the same time and stay compact and stay organized and shift their entire defense, right? So even if we're not going forward, if we're moving the ball along the back line, maybe through our midfield side to side quickly, we can keep possession, move the ball quickly, but slow the pace of the match down, which I think is what we're really going for here. I think Josh Wolf really wants to play a slow build-up possession style, which is completely understandable and actually my favorite way to play the game. But we could do a little bit better job of moving the ball quickly. And again, it's moving the ball quickly does not mean quick buildup. So something we could work on. Again, beggars can't be choosers. This is our 3rd match ever. It's a brand new squad playing together, and we're just now starting to get our style of play figured out. So something to look forward to. We're showing all the right signs here. We're keeping possession. We're completing more passes than the other team. We're creating more chances, and we're having a higher XG. So statistically speaking, absolutely brilliant performance from the boys and a well-deserved clean sheet and victory. Now that we've kind of talked about the overall statistics, the team-wise, let's talk about the individual players, because there were some performances that I saw that really stood out to me. Some good, some bad. So I think Nick Lima, again, is probably one of our most consistent players. He's been super solid this entire time, and he did really well. I think Alex Ring had a bit of an off night. He had some good plays. He had some bad plays. He gave up the ball in a couple inopportune times and, created counterattacks, which we ended up taking care of. But, I'd like to see us be a little smarter on the ball, especially from a guy like Alex Ring, who's supposed to be our leader in the midfield, a guy that should be a rock in the midfield. I think he could have done a little better there. Fagundes, I'm really torn on him because he's getting the goals for us, and you got to keep a guy on the side that's getting goals, right? But he just seemed a bit slow in his movement off the ball. I don't think he was doing a good enough job of showing and being available in the midfield, which, could have possibly contributed to Alex not having a great night. Same thing with Pochettino. I think Poch is one of my favorite players in terms of he could be very, very good for us. I just don't think he played that great against Minnesota. Jared Stroud, absolutely unbelievable. And for me, the man of the match. He was creating chances like crazy. He was working his absolute butt off. Picked up a bit of a knock, but I think he'll end up being okay near the end. Danny Hoesen, I had high hopes, but at the moment right now, I can't possibly think of a reason that he's starting over John Gallagher. I mean, every time Gallagher comes in, he creates a spark. He does something that changes the game, and he gives us pace. He gives us the work rate that Hoesen isn't giving us. I think Hoesen is the type of player that can give us something that John Gallagher can't. He's a big presence in the center of the forward line, and he can create hold-up play opportunities. The problem is he hasn't been. So I'm not opposed, and in fact, I would prefer that John Gallagher gets the start in the next match, and we try and bring Hoesen off and attack the other team through the air more, something that they're probably not going to be as used to with John Gallagher. He's a smaller guy, and that's not really his game. So you still get that style of play change, but I would like to see Gallagher get a start just because I think he's earned it so far. Cecilio, I think, had a typical performance for him in that he was very up and down. He had some moments that were absolutely brilliant, and then some moments where you're like, Cecilio, what are you doing, man? Just pass the ball. Just pass the ball. You don't have to do anything crazy. Just pass the ball. And, this may be a thing for him. It may not be. But hopefully he can kind of work through it, play the simple balls, and then only really have to do something amazing when, it's called for. I will say he spent a lot of time on the turf. I'm not going to lie. He was getting knocked around a bit, but, you saw from the reactions during the match of the Minnesota fans, they were getting a bit tired of seeing CC on the ground. From a home fan's perspective, I can see that. Especially when he started getting up pretty quickly afterwards. So not something that I personally like seeing, but, if he's winning us fouls or if he's winning us free kicks in dangerous areas, then I'm not going to complain too much about it. But, we all saw it. Okay, so that's enough talking about last week, right? Let's talk about this next game coming up. We are playing Sporting Kansas City, who generally have a tough team to play against, but this season they've started out a bit slowly. They have a 1 win, 1 draw, and 1 loss. They have a -1 goal differential. They've scored 4 goals. They've conceded 5. And their XG is actually really interesting. Their XG 4, so the goals expected for them is about 2.44 per match. So they're actually performing under their expected goals, and then their XG against, in terms of goals against, is 3.28. So they're performing at a rate of almost a negative goal or expected goal tally every single match, which means they've kind of been getting dominated. Their average possession is only 45%, and they've scored 4 goals in 3 games. But they're all from different goal scorers. They don't have a guy that's really a danger man for them as of yet emerging. So I think we're actually in a relatively good spot. The thing that really jumped out to me was their possession stat, and that they're really not doing a good job of keeping the ball. So that plays right into our hands of, we want to slow the game down. We want to keep possession, and we want to force this to be a very slow, methodical match. And I think that that's really going to play into our hands here. They are technically the betting favorites right now, but it is actually a pretty close bet. What I will say is things to look out for is how well can we start to move the other team off the ball. Like I was talking about earlier with the Minnesota match, I really want to see us start moving the other team and forcing the other team to adjust to us, rather than us being like, okay, let's build it out of the back slowly. And now they're pressing us and we have no idea what to do. So we try and work our way out of that. Sometimes it works, and sometimes we end up giving them, an opportunity to break us on the counter, which, against the more clinical teams in the league is going to be really dangerous. Luckily, we haven't been bit too hard for that, but we need to do a better job of understanding that when we have the ball, we need to dictate where the ball is, how the ball is being moved, and how quickly we move the ball up the pitch, right? So like I was saying, we can play slow build up, but not move the ball slowly. So I think that's something that we can work on. And I think if we do well at moving the ball quickly and forcing Kansas City to adjust with their amount of possession that they've been showing, we have an opportunity to not only dominate possession, but really just dominate the game in general. So I think this is actually a really good matchup for us. I would just like us to see, or I would like to see us actually convert on that and go and play the way that we want to play, and in the way that we, very obviously can be playing. But we'll see how we convert on that. I'm gonna go ahead and give us a way too early goal prediction. I'm gonna say 3-1. Good guys. I think Austin FC will get it. I think Gallagher gets a goal. I think maybe Ring or Potch from a dead ball. I could see them taking a pen. And then we get Redez off the bench. Redez will get a goal too. So very excited for next week. I think we have a big opportunity to go and get some points on the road against a very good Sporting KC team, or generally a very good Sporting KC team. But this is one of those games that, we talked at the beginning of the season about what's going to determine success for us. And I think one of them is going to be, can we win the games that we should have a chance at winning? I'm not super worried about going and beating Seattle or beating Columbus or beating Portland or beating, LAFC away or any of these matches that, we're probably the heavy underdog. What I'm worried about is winning these matches that we actually have a good shot at winning. And that's going to get us into the playoffs. If we win matches we should win, never mind the ones against the really good teams. If we win the matches that we have an opportunity, a 50-50 shot at winning, that's going to put us in a great position to build on for the future. So that's what I'm looking out for in this next match. All right, well, that's all I got for you this week. Remember, we're gonna win the league. But no, if you enjoyed the video, please leave us a like. Helps us get in front of more people because YouTube's algorithm is ridiculous and I have no idea how it works, but I know the likes help. And if you want to see more content like this, hit that subscribe button. You can even hit the bell if you really want to. But make sure to leave a like, share with your friends, do all that crap. You know the drill. You've seen YouTube videos before. Make sure you're following us down here, Talk Austin FC. It's on all the socials, so easy enough to follow. But yeah, we'll talk to you guys next week after we beat the shit out of Sporting Kansas City.